Okay, here we go. Tonight I'm going to cover some different tools and different qualities of tools and why to not cheap out tools and when to cheap out on tools. For starters, let's start with this Makito combo set I recently purchased. When I purchased that, looking at a couple different models ranging from either 150 or I think maybe the low end was 170 up to 230, and this model was $230. And part of my reason for going for that was I wanted the 18 volt. There was a 12 volt option. I was a little worried that wasn't going to be sufficient. I also really wanted the brushless as well, so I paid a little bit of a premium for that, and I got exactly what I wanted. And sometimes it's hard to make that decision to spend an extra $50. Might be 20% more, might be 10% more. Good example I keep going back to is this Kreg Jig. A while back, probably even a couple years ago, my wife and I purchased this Kreg Jig Junior. It was a little project, didn't really need a full-size Kreg Jig. This was sufficient for our needs. And since then, every time I use this, I regret not spending the extra, I don't know how much it was, 10 or maximum of $20 extra to buy the full set. Every time I use this, I regret not doing that. I have a good mentor at work that always says you can cry once or cry twice, and what he means by saying that is you can cry once by the first purchase of a really expensive product, or you can cry twice with the second purchase you have to make to replace the crappy purchase you made. And you know what, I'll even take that one step further and say you can cry once. I cried once when I made this Makita purchase, but every time I use it, I'm happy. But I cried over the first purchase of this Kreg Jig, but every single time I use it, I cry that I didn't just pay the extra amount and get what I really would have rather utilized. So that's a brief synopsis of kind of when you're buying tools to maybe think about the long term and the long term effects of your choices. I've got a variety of tools laid out here. Kind of go over some different cost advantages. Let's start with the screwdrivers. I've got a no-name. This has nothing on it. No-name screwdriver given to me by a previous employer. Honestly, one of my favorite screwdrivers. When I go to grab one, this is one of the ones I grab. Has the tip's getting a little worn out. I need to probably retire it soon. Hopefully it lasts a while longer. But honestly, for the money, probably way better than these other two here. So I've got a Mac and a Snap-on. These were hand-me-downs. They're not new condition. They're well loved and utilized. Honestly, between these two, I will grab this Mac every single time because the tip's better on it than the Snap-on. Honestly, I don't know if you can tell, but this is actually a bent shaft on this. It needs to be returned for replacement, but I will grab this, honestly, almost as much as I grab this one, and I will definitely grab it before I grab this straight Snap-on. The Snap-on really has a severely damaged tip on it that really makes driving screws difficult. When you're paying for these professional grade tools, that's what you're paying for. You're paying for that tip being perfectly refined and really fits your screw every time. Moving over to these Stanleys, here's a tool that I probably would not spend money on. I can't remember where I got these from, but I would not go with these if I had the choice. This Phillips head, smaller nose on it, severely damaged though. And then this flathead, I don't know if you can tell, but I have actually ground this down and used it for an alternative purpose than using it for screws. So these are two in my toolbox that I could probably live without. Here you've got a variety of stubby screwdrivers. You got a snap-on, a Mac, and then this one's a master grip. And I don't use a lot of stubbies, but on this particular snap-on, it's not been utilized as much. It's got a lot better tip on it. I wouldn't mind using that when I go to use a stubby Phillips. Over here we've got some wrenches. We got a Matco and a Craftsman. And I had a good friend that was a Matco dealer, and he actually said to me as I was going through automotive school, he said, buy Craftsman. He said, don't buy the professional grade tools until you've been in the industry for a number of years. And I think that was a wise decision for myself. I didn't buy a set. This is also a hand-me-down set, this Matco. But I did buy one set of gear wrenches, but other than that, I stayed away from the professional grade tools while I was in college. And I'm not in the industry, and I'm really glad that I didn't invest tens of thousands of dollars in tools just to use them for my home self. Looking at these tools, I love these Matco wrenches. They feel great in the hand. They're crisp, and they fit on the bolts well. But are they worth 4 times the price? I don't feel like they are, especially not for use around home. And honestly, these are made thin and sleek to fit in nice spaces, but they're actually not as strong. I've doubled these up before, these Matco ones, and I've actually bent them before. So they're not quite as strong. So really, these Craftsman, they fit really pretty good. They're not quite as good, but they are dang close, and they really are sturdy tools. If I had to buy a set again, I would. I really am a fan of Craftsman. They've never been let down by Craftsman. Going over here, here's a good example of a tool that I bought. Didn't really need. Got it at Harbor Freight. Thought I would, I'll buy the cheap one and I'll use it, and then I can justify buying a nicer one. Well, in reality, I bought this, used it all of 2 seconds. I don't know if you can see you can barely see how much use has been in there. I mean, this is probably still the same diameter. You can almost read all the same words. So this is one of those tools that I bought thinking I could cheap out on it and use it, and in the end it sits in my drawer taking up space. I honestly ought to just throw this away because I don't ever plan on using this. And here we've got another example. Multimeters. Going through college also, I was told by professors to buy different multimeters, and I love this multimeter. I believe I got this from Walmart. $10-20. Wasn't very expensive. Reminds me a lot of the $2 or $3 ones you can get from Harbor Freight. This thing has never let me down. I went through a handful of meters at college, and they blew fuses left and right. I had issues. This thing has never. I think I might have replaced a fuse once in this thing. So really, really happy with that multimeter. On the other end, you've got this Blue Point multimeter. This is sat in my toolbox collecting dust. I don't think I've actually ever used it just because I had this one first. It worked so well. I'm comfortable with it, and it's just what I go to. It's easy to use. It's just right there, and I've had such bad experience with these higher end ones that I don't even want to mess with it. I don't want to mess with changing fuses out, anything like that. So, lastly, we've got this DeWalt in the background. It's a corded drill. The trigger switch is gone. I don't know if you can check out that other video, but honestly, that was a great drill. I think for the cost for these cordless ones, being $200 for a fourth of the price, again, it's kind of the same comparison between the Matco and the Craftsman. For a fourth the price, you get a tool it's functional. I mean, this drill, up until just recently, how long have I had it? 4 or 5 years. Never let me down. It's just been super reliable. Used it in horrible conditions. If I took better care of it, it probably would have lasted even longer. So, really, end of the day, you buy your Craftsman, you buy a good quality. Stay away from like these cheap Stanley wrenches. Don't go the super cheap. Kind of pick a middle ground. This DeWalt's been a good middle ground too, and yeah, I mean, you kind of have to pick and choose what makes sense to you. What do you use the most? What are you gonna cry about? You know, every time you use that tool like this Kreg Jig, are you gonna cry about it, saying, "I wish I would have spent the extra money"? Do you use wrenches all the time? Maybe it's worth investing more into it. Do you use a cordless drill? Are you in a place where you don't have power? All those different scenarios kind of go into deciding what really makes the most sense and how you invest your money. Tools, you can either hate them or you can love them, and spending a little extra on them could make that huge difference. So hope that helps you learn something and learn from my past experiences, and I hope you subscribe and look forward to more videos like this.